Go ahead.
Hi, welcome to Week 2 recap, Week 3 preview. And as always, we're starting off. I got a Leining Kugel's Oktoberfest. And Alan has some.
It's the regular Red Bull, the full sugar Red Bull. I tried the low sugar. Can't do the no sugar Red Bull. I don't like it.
How big is that? How big is that can?
This is the smaller one. It's the 8.4 ounce. It's the they have the big one, and then I think the really big one, and then this one. This is the little guy.
So that I got some of those, and I was in Mexico on the resort. $6.
Sounds about Vegas casino-y.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to set aside the winter meetings. The winter meetings in Vegas. You're gonna have to just set aside money just for like chasers and mixers, because that's where they get you. Sodas and Red Bulls.
The two things I wanted to cover for people who are watching a part of the league is everyone's roster is on Sleeper. We're still going to use fan tracks for this year, but if you haven't yet, send me your user ID so you can play around with Sleeper. And their push notifications are awesome. Like, I think you guys might have saw some of the screenshots I took this weekend on Sunday, where, like, you don't even have to follow Twitter. Sleeper will let you know players down, players out, yada, yada, yada. I mean, you probably don't even have to watch the games if you don't want to be honest. It'll tell you everything, all their notifications.
It's like having Red Zone.
Yeah, it's like having Red Zone, really. And then in case anybody questions my honesty or integrity, which I know no one's not, but week 1 is all you have to point to. I gave myself the loss because Alan snuck by because the correct score settings were not in place.
And it was not I that figured out the fumble thing. I didn't even think to look. I didn't realize that we didn't have the negative points. I didn't look and see. I just assumed, the game that Rodgers had. It doesn't surprise me that I lost. It sucks that I lost by like less than a full point and a half or whatever it was. But then I think it was Squib that asked, don't we lose points for fumbles? And we kicked it. You and I kicked it back and forth a little bit. Like, what should we do about this? I said, well, if we do. Like, knowing it was a little weird to talk about it, knowing that it was probably going to swing our matchup. But I was saying, not just because it might give me the win, because I didn't know if I had guys with fumbles. I had no idea. It could have just as easily been a draw. We could have had 2 each or whatever. I said, man, if we do lose points for interceptions, we probably should for fumbles. I mean, it's just standard. I think we probably meant to have it that way, and we just didn't have it that way. But it turned out I think you had 3 or 4 fumbles, and I had 1 or 2, and it did end up giving me one of the weirdest wins I've ever had in fantasy football. I don't think I've ever won a match on a correction after the match was over. Like, of course, they happen all the time, but I don't think I've ever had a match hinge on one. And it's nice, in retrospect, it's much nicer now because I would have started 0-2. So it's really nice to get that kind of win unexpectedly and in a weird way, because starting 0-2 sucks, man. I have a lot of leagues. I think I only have 2 0-2 leagues, and I didn't want one of them to be this one. So I'm kind of glad it happened.
Well, I'll say this real quick, then we'll get into that. The Central's called the Division of Death. That's what they want to say. But we're the only division where everyone's 1-1. And if you look at our points scored, we're not too far off of what the teams in the Central are scoring. So just wanted to put that.
I think we have a tough division. I think it's all tough. It's not a 30-teamer like ABL. This is maybe we expand in the future, maybe not. Maybe we stay at 12. But I think everybody's got a pretty good team. We've got some 0-2 teams, but that's fantasy football. That's head-to-head scheduling. That's just how it's going to have to be. And actually, let's bring that up real quick.
So we want to start with the the East and then work our way west?
Yeah, however you want to do
Central. It. Yeah, we could just go East, Central, West then. I think that's their name.
The league. Jesus. Yeah, Central, East, West.
It looks the opposite of football or baseball with Stan being on top.
Well, when I click it, it was that was a nice subtle jab. I almost wasn't ready for it. I almost let it go right over my head. But yeah, when I click on it, it starts Central, East, West. Like that's just how it comes.
Okay, we can do it that way then. That's fine. We'll do Central, East, West.
When I click on it. But okay. I can. Who the hell knows what it's going to look like when I look at the matchups? Because if I click on matchups and look at week 2, so we can look at the.
It'll probably have yours first.
Yeah, it has mine first, which we can work from. We can do. Okay, we can do mine first.
Okay.
We were already talking about my. I was already talking about me to lead into this. So yeah, I guess we'll look at my loss. You and I talked before we went live, and I was whining about my Dak Prescott game. I had the terrible Rodgers game week 1. I had the terrible Dak game week 2. And now that I'm looking at the score, I kind of would have. I didn't really need Dak to just have a normal Dak game. I needed Dak to have a normal Dak game and Rodgers to not throw 3 touchdowns to Aaron Jones, because even if Dak had scored 30 points, Jones would have sunk me anyway. It would have been a lot closer, but I think I just lost to the better team. I mean, I hoped, after week 1, if you have Aaron Rodgers, you're just hoping in week 2 he's not that bad. And then I do get that, but unfortunately I get one of the worst games that Dak has ever had and stayed healthy for. My running back's predictably bad, but really I'm not all that worried or disappointed just yet. I think my process is kind of working. My receivers are scoring well. Kyle Pitts isn't doing what I hoped he would do yet, but I'm getting the good production out of the receivers. And if I could just get Rodgers and Dak to have a Rodgers and Dak kind of game the same week, I don't think I'm a top team, but I think I'm still a competitive team. But man, my running backs, I do have some running back worry. I do. It's time to admit that.
The only issue I'd say with your team that I see that sticks out is the Ronald Jones, just because you saw that blurb that Jeff posted where I think what Arians say, well, we have 3 running backs, and I don't know who's going to be the lead back.
Robinson's not doing it either. You figure with ETN going down in the preseason, if you're a Robinson owner, you're like, oh, hey, okay, this is exactly what I needed for Robinson to return. When are you're maybe getting him in the 6th or the 7th or whatever, but like to return some kind of value. And through the first 2 weeks, he's been almost non-existent, like in that offense. And the offense hasn't been good generally, but they're not using him. They're just not using him. I don't know if that's what's his face Urban Meyer thing. I don't know the deal, but they're not using him. The Bucs are not using Ronald Jones. Tom Brady's going to throw 100 touchdowns this year, and they're not going to need to run the ball at all. So, I thought maybe I would get 20 combined points out of my 2 crappy running backs, and I'd be satisfied with it. I'm lucky to get 12, 13, 14. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was a misstep. But I was on the turn, sometimes there's not any running backs there that you want to take, but if I could do the draft over, I probably don't take Rodgers. I probably don't take Rodgers, Dak Rodgers. I probably don't take Pitts in the 3rd, but
I think he'll pay off for you down the road. I mean, I'm not
worried about him.
12 out of a tight end is great. I mean, there are people who are begging for that. Look, you went against the guy who probably expected more out of Goddard than 4.
And to Don's credit, he had, Aaron Jones absolutely went off. You have Lockett with 180 yards and the touchdown. He went off. Other than that, well, other than half his team going off or whatever, I think the match was a little closer. I was down by 17 going into Monday night, and then Jones had the game of his life, and it looks a lot worse than it was. But I think that's enough time. I mean, like I said, I'm not overly worried, but I do know that I do have some issues. I just don't know that I have the chips to really address those issues right now. I'm not looking to deal picks at the moment, and I don't have a ton of depth to speak of to really, nab a starting running back at least. So we'll see. We'll see if my guys can come together and have, the good weeks at the same time that I want them to have. We'll see.
It's going to be interesting because we've had 2 trades so far, and we've set the market for what a starting quarterback should go for or went for, and what a wide receiver, 2 wide receivers swapped the one today. So no one's really traded an elite running back. So it's going to be interesting to see what the price tag is on those.
I don't even need elite, man. I don't need elite. I just need
a starter.
Yeah, just somebody that doesn't suck. That's all I need. I have 2 guys that kind of suck right now, and that wasn't necessarily the plan. The plan was to have below averageness, but not suck.
You also had the vengeance of a father who lost to his son the week before.
That's true, and he did. He smoked me down. Yeah. What can you do?
All right, so do we want to move on to the next one then?
Yeah, let's move on to Dwight and Harry. Man, Dwight is tearing this league up already.
Yes.
In 2 weeks.
Well, the Tom Brady pick was a hit. He looks to have the same problem you do. And I'm just looking at rosters now.
He's got way better running backs than I do.
Well, I don't know how much longer CEH is going to have that job.
Yeah, we need to address that in our dynasty. He's not like he's our flex, but we didn't spend high on him, but he's still got Dalvin Cook.
Exactly. But I mean, he has, you have one solid running back, I think, in Robinson by the year's over. I have no problem with Robinson before the year's over, but he has no problem with Dalvin Cook, but it's the CEH. Other than that, his team's solid. He's
getting a very surprising performance out of Daniel Jones, who's been running the hell out of the ball, and put up 30 points for him in this match. And then Harry with the complete opposite New York quarterback of Zach Wilson throwing 4 interceptions.
Whew.
Hard to overcome. I wasn't the only guy that had a quarterback in single digits.
And looking at the future with Dwight too, we said this on the pod, maybe a little joking or tongue in cheek, but Tom Brady throws 60, 100 touchdowns this year. He's going to try to break every record possible. They don't care. They've abandoned. They've abandoned the run. It's all about him.
Yeah, my Gio Bernard shares are sitting around going, I thought the Bucs brought him in so Brady would have a pass catching running back to throw to like James White, and none of them are doing it because they don't need to. I mean, look at him. He's looks like the MVP already. And he certainly has been for Dwight. I mean, but Dwight's getting great value also at Adam Thielen. TJ Hawkinson is doing what the people that drafted Hawkinson hoped he would do. Didn't get the monster Hopkins game, but a pretty good Hopkins game.
To kind of piggyback off what I don't know if we said this on the live or the pre-show, but Harry's suffering from the ETN injury.
Sure.
I mean, that his running backs do not obviously look great now or for this year. And I think he appropriately – hold on, let me get something real quick. He appropriately recognized that.
This is kind of a weird game for Harry too. He lost big. He lost by 50 points, but Nyheim Hines, I know a lot of guys were really big on him in DFS. He was going to be a reception monster, and if you looked at this game, being 24-27 runs, you would assume a little more action for Hines than one catch for 17 yards. And then similarly, if you were to tell anybody that the Titans scored 33 points and went into overtime, you would assume that A.J. Brown had more than 43 yards and no touchdowns. So kind of a funky game for Harry. And I don't know what to think about Mike Gesicki. It seems like the Dolphins are just not interested in the tight end this year. I don't know.
I don't even know. Is there, Tua got injured in that game.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that. And who is their backup? The Dolphins.
Who was it? I don't recall off the top of my head. Some schlub.
Yeah. Someone, yeah. So, I mean, that
it was Jacoby Brissett.
Oh, so that offense has Myles Gaskins and Gesicki, Harry's, that is.
They got shut out. They got shut out.
Yeah. You're going to have a bad week.
Put up a fat goose egg week 1. You and I know that because we talked about it. He's our tight end in our dynasty that we run, and he put up a big fat 0. And yes, he did do better this week, but I thought he was going to be a more, not the featured guy or anything, but I guess I thought we could rely on, like a 10-point floor out of him. And right now, through 2 games, he's averaging 3.5. So
but he had his 0 to 7.
Yeah, if he goes up, well, he didn't even go up 7 times because he went up from 0. But if he just keeps increasing by a magnitude, he'll be tight end 1 in no time.
But Harry has Harry traded today. We can touch on that. He traded Cortland Sutton, and he has Juju now.
His highest scoring player in week 2. He now has traded.
I almost wonder if Harry did that because I watched the end of that Pittsburgh game when I was on the flight. That Deontay Johnson injury did not look good. And that's who Harry has
as well.
Yeah, that's who Harry has at wide receiver in his flex right there.
Yeah, he's got him.
This Deontay Johnson. So I almost wonder if Juju is kind of the insurance or however you want to say, But if you were going to do that, wouldn't you
want to gain a receiver? Because he didn't really gain one because he traded one away as well.
Yeah, that's true. He traded Sutton.
So, yeah, he's not. I was not gaining depth.
Because I saw that game and I'm like, oh, that he needed help off the field and it was a meaningless play.
Yeah, he was down while everybody else was like talking and shit, and like the celebrations were going on. Yeah, not great.
Yeah. No.
And I mean, Harry obviously likes Juju, and he gets a pick back. So
yeah, 2nd round. Yep.
I mean, I don't think there's a ton of difference between Cortland and Juju. So the way I see it for Harry is he's getting a pick and a similar receiver to the one he's giving. And obviously Jeff is, at least in his eyes, for him personally, he's upgrading. So I like it. I think it's fine.
Yeah. Other than that, I don't know much
Jeff. Yeah. Harry just got beat. He's got guys that did terrible. 2 points out of your super flex, 3 points out of your RB2, and 7 points out of your wide receiver 1 is not going to cut it.
No. Now, I guess as Josh said in the comments, we're going to go to the division of death. Here we go.
Harry was the lowest scoring team of the week. Not to poke him, but that's just the fact of the matter. He was the lowest scoring team of the week. Sorry, Harry. Game of Jones and Jeff.
Yes.
This was a matchup. And again, disappointing, like a matchup kind of turned by disappointing performance. If going into the week you were going to tell anybody, hey, you're only going to get 15 points combined out of Mixon and Kamara, I think everybody would have taken the over. And lo and behold, 7 points for Kamara. and I watched that game. That was like the early game that I watched was Carolina, New Orleans, and the Carolina defense just shut them down. They just shut them. Jameis looked terrible, and they were able to shut down Kamara. And 7 points, only 4 catches, 5 rushing yards for Alvin Kamara, and nobody looks at Carolina as a top defense. So you had to think that he was going to feast. He was on my DFS teams, him and McCaffrey both.
And as good as New Orleans looked week 1 against the Packers,
especially Jameis. I mean,
yeah.
He had nowhere to go but down. But man, he went really down. He went like complete opposite. He looked awful. He was missing throws. He seemed to be taking sacks, like almost. He would just give up on the play and take the sack. He wasn't. You could see that he wasn't trying to look for anybody or no thoughts of throwing the ball. He was just taking the sack. I don't know, man. He sucked. He just sucked. 3 points out of Corey Davis.
Yeah,
it was a tough week for Jeff.
And then, I mean, looking at the receivers that Squibb and Josh have, and I just want to go over this because this was mentioned in the Discord earlier. Josh, can you get your pen out? It's spelled MC capital LAURIN. We don't need any nicknames.
McLaurin.
McLaurin. We're
Come on,
Alan and I are.
You don't think there's any good nickname? Let's deviate a bit here because that's who hates all nicknames. Like,
I just hate that. Like, you have to like some of the names I'm fine with, like, because they're part of their name. But like when he says F1, I'm like, who is F1? Like,
that's Jerry McLaurin. Like Griffey, Ken Griffey Jr., the kid. Like that's a badass nickname. Like, that Pudge Rodriguez. That's a pretty cool nickname. The Ryan Express. That's a cool nickname.
Okay, that I was waiting for one that I could get behind, and I'll tell you why I can get behind that one, because it incorporates his actual name, Nolan Ryan. Like these other, so then I know the Ryan. Okay, I know you're talking about Nolan Ryan, the Ryan F1. Who are you? Like, there's not even an F in the guy's name. Oh, here, McLaurin.
No, but it's like, because McLaren is a F1 car. They don't only do F1 car, but they're a supercar. McLaren is a supercar, and it's said and spelled in nearly the same.
I don't think I've watched more than 10 seconds of NASCAR or Formula One on TV, so I'm sorry. I have no idea the references that.
Josh makes a good point in that, you yourself are using a nickname.
No, I can accept, but that's just something I've embraced because of my laziness, and I didn't know. I think it got brought up to me the third time I was on a pod. Your name is one. I'm like, I had no idea. Zero idea my name was one.
So when I started playing OOTP, the baseball game, there were 2 old-timey players from like the early 1900s that I always remembered their nicknames because I thought it was really cool. One guy, his name was Raleigh Zeter, and his nickname was Bunions, which, this guy probably just like had bad bunions because it's like the 1920s, and that's how you get your nickname. The other guy's name was Ezra Midkiff, and his nickname was Salt Rock. Yeah, Salt Rock. old Salt Rock Ezra. That's what they called him. So I think nicknames are super cool. I don't love all of them.
Now part of this could also be going through, some people know this, like me and my wife are trying to adopt and have a baby and whatnot. And for any of you who've been through that process, it's, oh my gosh, trying to pick a name. So just like that part of like just picking a name for a kid, it's almost like you just slap their parents in the face like, oh, I'm just going to call him F1, even though we spent all this time picking out Terry. Like that's, I guess, where I'm coming from, like, because it's current and personal. Like, we're looking at names for kids.
I'm not laughing at you. You know that. Yeah.
Oh, I know. You understand
all
what I'm
this
saying?
time picking out Terry. Yeah, but it's like some of the regular names in the NFL sound like nicknames, like DeBrickashaw. Like that sounds like that would be the guy's nickname, but that's just his name.
Mm-hmm.
But to say like, you're gonna call him this, and we spent all this time picking out Terry.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And like it probably was like a great grandfather name to him or something. You know what I mean?
Right. We
like,
don't know what it means to the people. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But I think in the era, especially of social media, like these guys are embracing like anything to set them apart, like on Instagram or whatever, like to set them apart from their peers is probably a good thing. Now, granted, it seemed like half of the guys in our league did not know what the F1.
No,
is that what? Well, like, he's just the weakest. He's like the weakest level tornado. Like, so he's not that good. Like,
that's our Midwest. That's our Midwestern mate coming through right there.
Like, an F1. I mean, I sit and look at those in my fucking lawn chair. Like, that's not that intimidating or anything. That's not that fast. Yeah. So what's F1? But if you know the racing part, then okay, it's like, it's McLaren. He's a super fast car. He's super expensive and whatever. But totally off track.
And to get back on track, so I can just keep throwing hate or shade or however the young kids talk about it nowadays. I don't know if that team on the left looks so unbeatable when you have Mac Jones, your second quarterback, putting up 7 points.
I know the pain of a quarterback putting up single. So that's the third one now that we've encountered. We've had one in every game. Somebody's super flex put up single digits.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully that happened on a week where he played Jeff, who got single digits out of George Kittle, Joe Mixon, and Alvin Kamara.
Yeah. How about, the production he's got out of Kittle? You spend that high draft capital and
he did the same thing last year. It was mostly injury, but he did the same thing last year. You spent like a second or maybe a high third round pick on him, and he returned, not well at all. The benches, I don't think there's anything these guys could have done.
Well,
KJ Osborne sitting on the bench for Game of Jones looks really nice.
But I don't think they're going to start him over the 4 wide, the 4 they're starting right now. Aren't they starting 4 wide?
Oh, maybe over Waddle. Waddle hasn't looked that great. Osborne's gotten 9 and 7 or 7 and 9 targets, something like that. He's been. I don't see how it's sustainable to have Thielen, Jefferson, Osborne, and Cook all have a good game at the same time. It kind of did happen this week. If you consider 16 really, it's okay for Cook. It's not great, but
I don't think the Arizona defense is anything that amazing either.
No.
I think this is the second week. I think they're gonna be in shootouts. And is it Jones who has Kyler, right? I think they have Kyler.
Yeah. Yep.
He probably will be easy top 3. If not the top, I'll say easy top 3.
This match should have been a lot closer. I feel like it should have been a lot closer. Right?
Well, especially
had a really
Lamar. Week. Yeah, like you said, the Kamara Mixon thing is just no one would have saw that, especially against the way New Orleans looked week 1. And I'm a Bears fan, as you can see, and I thought the Bengals would beat us.
I just feel like the week I play Jeff will not be the week that those 3 guys all have single digits. I have that feeling. But, I mean, to their credit, they got the single digits out of Mac Jones and stuff, too. It's not like they had a blowout week and still put up 140 points. So they had an off week, too. Could have easily scored north of 160 if things go right for them.
And Josh wants us to know that Jonnu dropped a touchdown. So
yes, he did. So that helps both them as having Jonnu and Mac Jones. So there's
and Damian Harris.
Is that a stack? Is that considered a stack?
I guess you could say that. But the thing is I understand it can baseball because it can kind of play off of each other. But in football, only one guy is usually going to score unless it's Mac Jones passing to one or the other two. But when Damian Harris scores, rushing, Jonnu and Mac get nothing. That's the only downside of the stacking. And when New England goes against a tough, opponent, or you play Game of Jones on New England's bye week, you have a little bit of a slight edge, which could happen. It's going to happen. Go ahead.
I asked somebody on Twitter because I honestly didn't know, because back when I played a lot of DFS, I didn't play a lot of football. So I genuinely asked somebody, and I got kind of ripped about it. They thought I was being like, what's the word? Like I didn't really mean it. Like I was patronizing him or something. Like, because I asked, like, is 3 guys on the same team really considered a stack? Like, is it a stack if you take, Matt Ryan, Calvin Ridley, and Mike Davis? Like, is that stacking Falcons?
The way that I've understood it is 2 is a mini stack and 3 and beyond is a stack.
So you're starting, like, in DFS, what are you starting? Like DraftKings, are you starting 8 or 9?
So I don't play. I haven't played football.
Right. Yeah. So 3 of 9. I think it's 9. So 3 of 9 is
that'd be stack. I would say stack. Yeah.
Huh. I always thought in baseball it had to be like, in baseball it seems like you need more than 3 guys to really be stacking, because it's an 8 or 9. If it's an AL team, it's a 9-man lineup. I guess if you take 3, 4, and 5, that feels like a mini stack.
Yeah.
That feels like a mini. And then you need one more guy. You need that 4th guy for it to be a real stack. But I also don't play a lot of DFS, and I could just be an idiot. So not that it matters for what we're doing anyway. Yeah. I was just curious, like, what other people thought, if Josh can chime in.
I still think that Game of Jones is going to finish second in that division, though.
To
the opposite of baseball, football powerhouse known as Run MCM.
He's got the depth, man. He's doing
it
right.
He's one of those guys that could just be playing us all for a fool, and this was his plan all along.
Sam is always like, he's feigning ignorance and stuff. He's not feigning stupidity. He's feigning ignorance. Like, he just doesn't know this stuff. Because obviously everybody knows he's not stupid. But I think he's like kidding on the square a lot of times. Like he's, maybe he legitimately hasn't heard of this guy, but he knows exactly where to go to find out everything about him, and he knows how to use that information. So when he says, like, oh, so-and-so is really this good, like, you already knew that, Sam.
Yeah.
And we know that you know that now, because you've been on the pod a couple times. We know you're not stupid. And some of us have played poker with you. So
yes. Yeah. Should we jump into his matchup with Mark?
Yeah, why not? Because I know Mark will be another one of those interesting teams that had a really off week. It seems like we're saying that in every match. Like, you can't possibly be, well, the guy that lost every match just had an off week, but it's kind of feeling that way.
Like he said, he took,
squeak.
Like, the dogs are wrestling. Like, the thing that it hasn't shown yet, and I think it's going to show in like weeks 4, 5, 6, and beyond. Oh, they're wrestling over like a Corona.
I love it. Yeah, I love the squeaky toy.
The thing that's not showing up for Mark, and I want to give him credit, is his 2 quarterbacks are going to carry him. When he goes against teams that can only put out 1 quarterback because of bye weeks, and he can float out Mahomes and Stafford, that's going to be a big difference maker.
Well, this was a down week for both of them. If and I keep saying, if you were going to tell me that, but if you're going to tell me the Chiefs put up 35 points, but and Mahomes only has 24, would only have 24, I would probably take the over. And then similarly, I would take over Stafford 17.5 against the Colts pretty much any day. And just combine that with, he got a combined 4.2 points out of Jalen Reagor and Laviska Shenault.
Well, then also look at the Mark Andrews thing. You tell me the Ravens are going to score 36 or whatever they scored against the Chiefs, and Mark Andrews gets 10.
Yeah. And he had big points on the bench, but you can't fault him for not starting Tony Pollard and Zach Moss. You know, Singletary scored 17 as well, so that's a bit of a toss-up. That was like a 5-point difference, but you're not going to start Pollard over Zeke unless Zeke is hurt.
No. Yeah.
You know, maybe you could make a case for flexing one of those guys instead of Reagor. I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't flex Moss, especially if I had decided on playing Singletary, and I wouldn't flex Pollard, like I said, unless Zeke was hurt. So, you know, the optimization doesn't look great numbers wise, but I can't fault him, Mark, that is, for making any of the plays that he made.
I guess the second time that Sam plays the Young Guns, or the Game of Jones, sorry, New England's on a bye that week.
That's going to be rough. That should be, but they've got depth. I know that team has depth, so it's not going to cripple them the way it would, say, if you stacked Rams. You know, say you had Stafford, Kupp, and Woods or Henderson or something like that. Like, that's probably pretty devastating. But they got Harris pretty late. They didn't use a high-round pick on him or Jones, so they'll be okay.
No.
But man, Mark, I mean, you look at this Mark team, like, kind of like Nyheim Hines, you know, almost probably you would say he busted worse than Nyheim Hines' Allen Robinson. People thought Robinson was going to run wild on Cincinnati, and they actually shut him down pretty good. 2 catches. Yeah. So through 2 weeks, if you're in a league with a 1 touchdown, sure, but if you're in a league with a panicking Allen Robinson owner, go make a trade offer for him now, because
I'll welcome any trade offer you want to give me for Allen Robinson. I'll welcome that. I'll gladly welcome.
I've sent some out, and I was trying to sell high on Brandon Cooks and buy low on Allen Robinson, and I sent that offer in 3 leagues, and I've been rejected in all 3 so far. But hey, man, you know, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So I'm trying to buy low on Allen Robinson, and I've got a lot more leagues to. Tony Robinson or Mooney rest of the season.
Robinson. Yeah.
Yeah. Go look for that panicking Bears fan, or go ahead. Sorry.
Fields is gonna rely on Robinson. He's pretty. You can bank that Fields is taking that job.
Well, this is kind of the thing you're hoping for with Robinson now. Now he's going to play with probably the best quarterback he's ever played with. Finally, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, think about that. Like, wow.
Blake Bortles, Andy Dalton, whoever the hell else. Didn't
he have another quarterback in Jacksonville? Yeah.
But it's been pretty bad for him, and he's still consistently a stud fantasy receiver. So maybe it takes them a week or 2 to really get in sync, but this could be big things for Allen Robinson. He's going to be a stud anyway. Yeah. But now he's supposedly, I don't know a ton about Fields, but everybody says he's the second coming. I don't know of who in Chicago, but
some people. Well, I don't even know the last time Chicago had a franchise quarterback. So
Jim McMahon, man.
the Super Bowl
quarterback.
Shuffle.
Yeah, the funky quarterback. Come on.
Yeah.
Eric Kramer?
Yeah. Oh, well, Smokin' Jay. How can you forget Smokin' Jay Cutler?
I like Jay Cutler like exponentially more since he's retired than I did when he was in the league.
Side note, since we brought that up, did you see that he said, what he said? He tweeted to Peyton last night. He's like, "What's in your red Solo cup?" Like, kind of hit, because like Peyton was drinking out of like a Solo cup, and then he asked Peyton, he's like, "What'd you say?" And yes, Josh, that was a nickname you heard, but I actually incorporated his real name, Jay Cutler, Smoking Jay Cutler. I said the whole
the Manning broadcast. A side note to the side note. The Manning broadcast is like the best thing to ever happen to football. Like you think these guys are like weirdly uncharismatic and kind of dopey, but Peyton Manning is fucking hilarious. And I could go either way on Pat McAfee. I think he's a little attention whorish, but he's also got some good stories and stuff. He told the roulette story on the Manning broadcast last night. That was funny. But yeah, I think the Manning broadcast is pretty damn good.
So I think one other thing is with Run MCM or Sam or however you want to say it, like he's been getting some otherworldly performances, obviously out of Gronkowski and Cooper Kupp. I mean, Cooper Kupp's good, don't get me wrong, but getting 36 from him. But he has a team that kind of has that boom or bust mentality where all he needs is a couple of them to boom. Like, look, you go down, Antonio Brown has 2 points. Last week, Antonio Brown had 24 or whatever.
He had a lot of guys. It's not just Mark that had the off week. Like you said, Antonio Brown less than 3 points. Joe Burrow only 10. David Montgomery only 10. DK Metcalf, Seattle scores 30 points. DK Metcalf only has 11.
Yeah.
Roethlisberger, you think the Steelers at home against the Raiders, who just played in overtime, they're on a short week, and they traveled, so the Steelers are going to light up the Raiders, right? Fuck no, they're not, and they're going to cost me a survivor pick while they're at it. Ben goes for 295, an interception, and 1 touchdown, 13 points. So like Sam had a 146-point week, but he also had a very off week. So it's not to say like, well, if Mark's guys just would have been Mark's guys, if Sam's guys would have been Sam's guys too. This was going to be a very close matchup either way. And
then here's the other thing
Sam's
too.
Team is better than I. No, go ahead.
You don't even look at it, but you're like, Carolina scored 26, which is a decent amount, and McCaffrey only has 20. Like, because we have such a high bar for McCaffrey, only has 24. You know what I mean? Like
it's like saying Mahomes. Yeah, Mahomes and McCaffrey, they only had low 20s in points. Yeah. Get out of here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like Matt Ryan sucks. I don't know if Calvin Ridley is going to be able to be the guy that we thought he was going to be because Matt Ryan sucks so much. I don't know if it's, Matt Ryan sucks and there's no Julio on the other side of the field, but I don't know if we're going to get those 30-plus point games out of Calvin Ridley. I watch the Falcons. I go back and watch them a little bit. Matt Ryan sucks.
I think the thing with Calvin Ridley is he might suffer from the Allen Robinson thing, where he's not going to get his truly elite numbers for as good he is because he doesn't have a good quarterback now. But
he needed the above average quarterback, which maybe Matt Ryan is average to above average, but he also needed that other guy to be on the other side of the field. Right now, it's like Russell Gage. It's not Julio Jones, and it's not good Julio Jones. So they can be on him. They can be on Pitts. Mike Davis is not that much of a threat. He's been shitty. They've been leaning on Cordero Patterson more than they've been leaning on Mike Davis. So that tells you what they think of Mike Davis right now. Yeah. And I think I don't know that Ridley's getting doubled or whatever, but I don't know that we're going to see that huge season from him.
No. Not much else to say here, I don't think.
No, it was just kind of a funky game, but I think Sam had this one. Sam, since making that trade and picking up picking up Joe Burrow, and he still has pretty good depth elsewhere. Sam's team looks really good right now. You just look at the lineup as he put it out right here. It looks really good with Gronk. If he continues to be, what did he call himself on the broadcast the other night? Red Zone Robbie or something like that. He gave himself a nickname. I know but that has his name in it. So he's Red Zone Robbie or whatever the fuck it was. But if he continues to be Red Zone Robbie, that's going to be a stud tight end. If you can count on him for a 12 to 15 point floor just about, because Brady's going to break the record and want to keep throwing to his buddy. That's a huge pickup for Sam, getting him and getting Joe Burrow. That team looks scary right now.
Yeah. But keep in mind, to get Burrow, he gave up Carson Wentz, Austin Eckler, and Mike Evans.
Carson Wentz sprained both of his ankles somehow.
Yeah, he did. He did.
That's like something my wife would do. Like that's a thing my wife would do, stepping out of the car or something, to somehow sprain both ankles and like end up super hurt. But this guy's an NFL quarterback and was already hurt and is playing on a bad foot and now has both ankles sprained. And yeah, Eckler, man, I don't know. I think that looks good for Sam right now. He's still got Jacobs on the bench. You know, he's got the depth. He dealt from his depth and he acquired what he needed. Sure. I mean, it was a price to pay.
It worked for both teams, because I've Herbert, and I get the Eckler Herbert stack. Evans, I mean, you can say what you want about him, but I needed a wide receiver. And Wentz,
I like Mike Evans.
Yeah. He'll win you weeks. We've said that.
Yes.
One of the most interesting things, I flipped ahead and we'll transition to the last matchup, or the second to last matchup. Sure. We'll save mine for last. Was your dad against Vince. I've played in a lot of leagues with Vince, and I know he does this, and you're going to notice the red flag right off the bat. Just scroll back up a little.
He's missing a spot.
Yeah. What he did, and he does this. If he has a starter on Monday night and the other team has nobody going, he's going to bench that starter as long as the league settings allow it. Because he doesn't want to get any – I mean, it would have to been negative whatever points. Because he had DeAndre Swift, if you look down. Right. Add DeAndre Swift points to this, and this matchup's even more of a blowout. Because DeAndre had, 18 or so on the bench?
Yeah.
And Vince will do this. He'll like to have Monday night players. Yeah. But, I mean, he'll like to have Monday night players. And he had Jamal Williams, too, as their backup. But, he likes to have the Monday night players, and he will see if he has to play them or not. And if he has enough of a buffer zone to not have a stat correction, he's not going to play him. And just lock up the W.
Hey, no reason not to.
And some people may have never played with people who play that way. But that's how Vince plays. I know that.
So he's actually worried about a running back getting him like negative 30 points?
He'd rather lock up the win, or whatever, and move on.
Even if the league gave out money at the end of the year for most points scored?
No, then he'd play his,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, interesting. But this is obviously the Derrick Henry team. 47.7 points in our scoring. That team, is probably going to win.
A lot. Well, that team is going to win a lot of weeks with Derrick Henry and Russell Wilson.
Yeah, and man, getting surprisingly good production out of Sam Darnold as well, actually. And Darnold looks pretty good in that game.
Well, did you see his third quarterback?
Yeah, he's got a nice bench.
Yeah, Justin Fields too. And if you want to look at the future, he has Jordan Love.
He's got Jordan Love, yeah. Jimmy G on the bench for Garoppolo Silence. Tyrod, he did have Tyrod. He's going to be out for at least 4 weeks. Yeah. Had Tunyon. He's not going to start him over Kelsey. Yeah.
Your dad has depth there with Garoppolo, so he's fine.
We knew that Saquon was going to start slow. He's still not all the way healthy yet. You're probably still, I don't know, disappointed in 9 points. I don't think if you could help not starting him, if you really had anybody else, you maybe don't start him against what was supposed to be a pretty good Washington defense. They haven't looked that great, but as he gets healthier, he's hopefully going to become Saquon again.
I don't know if your dad did this on purpose, but he has kind of two running back receiver combos with Mike Davis and Gage and Barkley and Galladay.
Yeah, and Galladay, not all the way healthy, I think, and is showing it in the numbers. Those are two guys that he's probably going to try to lean on heavily going forward, but just aren't going to do it for him or haven't done it for him in the first couple weeks. Not a whole lot he could have done different, but
this can kind of be a quick 30 seconds on that is where Game of Jones has Mac Jones plus Damian Williams and God, I forgot who the other one was. They had Jonnu Smith.
Yeah.
Where 2 or 3 of those guys can score points at the same time because of a pass to one of them from Mac Jones. Where Saquon and Kenny Galladay cannot score points at the same time. Gage, unless it's a fluky pass from one to the, like Saquon passes.
Probably not going to happen.
Yeah. And the same thing with Davis and Gage. They both can't score points at the same time. So you're not.
He's got some receiver issues. My dad does. He needs a better wide receiver too than Kenny Galladay. I think just somebody with a higher floor. Galladay's a high ceiling but a low floor at the same time, and with the wide receiver 3 being Gage, he really could use an upgrade.
I really think, and this might, I don't know if your dad's a Chiefs fan, because I know you are.
He is. Yeah.
I think trading Travis Kelce might be the best advice I can give him.
He's probably got the highest value of somebody that he might be able to kind of afford with time.
Yeah, because he has time. Yeah. And you can get with as desperate as people are for tight ends, you could get 2 quality starters back, I would bet, for a team that's missing that.
Yeah, that's true. Might be something to think about. He'll probably listen to this 3 weeks late.
Yeah,
but he will listen
after the deadline. After the deadline's over. Oh, by the way, I switched to this one's almost done. I'm have another one, but this is a sour gummy watermelon.
Oh my god! It's like an alcoholic melted Jolly Rancher taste.
Yeah. I just wanted to touch on the Vince thing, but I think Vince is going to give Dwight a run for his money, and they play each other next week. We'll get to that.
Ooh, yeah. Collision of powerhouses.
Yes. We can move on to mine, I guess. I really thought I was going to lose. I thought Devontae Adams was going to have 30 plus. I really did.
Boy, you got pretty fortunate with Tua going down. Yeah. And getting less than a point. And really Waller only scoring 11.5, and Tyreek fewer than 6. Amari Cooper fewer than 5.5.
But you got pretty in the same sense, in a plus matchup without OBJ, Jarvis Landry went down first play of the game.
Yeah, 2 points, and then Antonio Gibson has not looked like the guy that anybody hoped he was going to be.
He's turned into I was listening to the broadcast. They said he's almost fantasy analysis on Sirius XM today. I think they're comparing him to Jonathan Taylor, where he's going to get a majority of the stuff, but when Washington has a 2-minute drill or hurry up, he's not in the game.
It's McKissick, yeah, and Heineke does not throw. He threw to McKissick, but generally in his starts, he does not throw very much to the running back, and that was kind of a thing with Gibson. And then a weird thing, Gibson came out and said, he's like, "Yeah, I'm still learning the position," because he wasn't a running back; he was a wide receiver. So it's been a full year at least. He played running back most of last season, and then the first week this season. He says he's still learning the position, so he still doesn't have the 100% grasp of running back yet. And now, who knows for how long? But he might be stuck with a quarterback that is not going to throw to him all that much, it might sap a little bit of his value, but I wouldn't be panicking yet if I was a Gibson owner.
I'm not panicking because he hasn't had yet the game script or game flow or whatever term you want to use for that go in his
I don't
favor.
think anybody expected this game to be as close as it was.
No.
Yeah, they thought they were going to crush the Giants.
Yeah. Once they get a positive game flow and they get a double-digit lead, you're going to see him salted away. And, watching that game, and I remember chatting about it live, like, Gibson was popping off 5 yards a chunk. Like nothing, They've got a really
okay. He's just not getting the catches, and that was a pretty big part of his value, at least last year. And you were kind of expecting that it would be.
He's not on the same level as Derrick Henry, obviously, but he's a Derrick Henry-like back where he needs the volume, and he'll get it. Like if they would lean on him like they did Henry, because Henry's not a pass catcher. He doesn't get anything out of the air.
Yeah. He did set a career high for catches this weekend, but it's not something you should ever expect out of Derrick Henry.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about our division. I mean, we've went over the teams. Just a quick side note, who knows how long Tua is going to be out, and that could change how good Cal's team is. I do not think Cal has the depth, if I remember right. He has Tua and Carr injured. Okay.
Carr's been really good too, man. I mean, and they can't run the ball, so he's going to throw, a lot.
Cal has one bench quarterback, and I don't know if you noticed. It's Mason Rudolph.
Where was he at? Oh, it's Mason Rudolph.
That's it. If there's a team that cannot afford a running back or quarterback injury, it's this team.
It is fully shoved. Yeah, and there's not a lot out there,
No.
In a dynasty league, a super flex, there's not a lot on the wire as far as quarterbacks. And
you're gonna pay for it in a trade.
Yeah, this I mean, you guys both had some underperforming guys, but
well, this is your opponent next week. Fully shoved.
Oh, is it? Okay. Sweet.
So you could be catching him at the absolute right.
I'll take it. Because now it's like I can't in good conscience start Heineke over Dak or A-Rod, right? So I'm in that weird position to where I just watched a guy have a really good fantasy game, Heineke, and I know he's going to be starting, and I know he's probably going to throw a lot. But at the same time, you can't start him over Dak or A-Rod. Josh would tell me that I probably can start him over A-Rod, but I don't think I can. I don't think I can. Maybe I can, but maybe it depends on what maybe I'll pull the Vince and I'll bench my super flex or something. So
we've got
I won't have to worry about it.
We've got something setting up where there's two divisions that have two 2-0 teams and 2-0-2 teams. And then there's one division where everyone's 1-1-1.
I can't believe Jeff is 0-2. I can't believe Jeff.
No.
I guess of the teams that are 0-2, it'd be easiest to believe that it would be my dad's team, honestly, because I wouldn't have thought Harry, I wouldn't have thought Cleveland Mark, and I would not have thought Jeff go 0-2. I mean, somebody's probably going to do it, but I would have put myself on that list before I probably put any of those three guys. If you were going to ask me which of you are going to go 0-2, I probably would have put myself ahead of any of them. I easily could have. But
I would not have been shocked if place 9 and place 2 were switched.
Before he made the trade, especially before Sam made the trade for Joe Burrow, definitely. And then it's not like he got some amazing game out of Joe Burrow and it propelled him to victory. But still, it really makes his team look a lot better. I like it a lot. Let's go. Let's look at
week 3.
Yeah, let's look
do a
ahead.
quick week 3.
Yeah, let's do a pretty quick week 3 here because I get to yakking about shit and.
Well, we get to talking about naming babies and nicknames and.
What is going on here? Is this the prediction? Is that what this is? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, how do I have 16? Damn it! What?
Oh, because you have Thursday. That's Monday. That because you go to the nope. Here now it's the time frame thing. Nope, down.
Okay.
You see the time frame? Yep. Click that. Period. Boom. Now change it to 2. You had it by day because then you had Thursday night. So the reason let's now go back
to. But I just want to look ahead. I just want to look ahead to week 3, but it's giving me the projections.
Yep, there it is, right there.
Can I just turn off?
There
we go. Just turn off projected. Okay. Holy God.
Yeah, we'll just look at it.
So they're projecting Tua to play, though. We can see that very quickly. They're projecting Tua and Carr and Cooper to be healthy and to put up pretty
They said he's day to day. Tua's day to day with ribs.
So he could easily play and then get knocked out in like the first quarter.
Same thing. Amari Cooper, day to day with ribs.
So delicious ribs.
And then
Carr, it's an ankle.
Yeah. His ankle. He underwent an MRI and no one knows. They haven't updated it yet.
Have you heard an update on Dalvin Cook? Is he hurt?
No. I
have
not heard anything.
Where's Dalvin Cook? He's not even he doesn't even have a little flag next to his name. I was hoping maybe Madison would get a start, and I could have a real running back for once.
We'll do we want to save our division for last, and then go through the others?
Yeah, tell me who to go to.
Let's go to the one we talked up, Vince and Dalvin.
Yeah,
not
the big dogs here.
Dwight. That could be the match for the week, right? Outside of the
this is the
grudge matchup,
game.
Russell Wilson, Tom Brady. You don't know who to give that.
Well, Brady is going Rams defense. I mean, if there's any defense that might stifle the Bucs a little bit, you have to think it's going to be one of the top 5, one of the top 3 defenses in the league. Jalen Ramsey pretty much. I don't know if he's man. Is he a man guy or he floats around like he plays safety almost. So I don't know how much that matters for the Bucs, but
the Vikings are a plus matchup.
Yeah, even in Minnesota, it's indoors. I think Wilson will be fine.
I would give Henry the edge, obviously.
Even against Indy defense, easily. And Swift over CEH.
Just because you have no idea what to expect with CEH.
I think you can expect to be disappointed at this point. If you're anybody that's put any kind of investment into CEH this year or last, the main expectation you can have is to be disappointed unless you set the bar really low. And it's happened multiple times where the Chiefs put up big points and CEH is sitting there in single digits. So I expect to be disappointed.
I'm going to segue to you with I saved this last one. This is the peanut butter stout we talked about. And I opened this and had the first drink. Is it true Keenan Allen has monster games against the Chiefs since you're the Chiefs fan?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. I love peanut butter.
I seem to remember hearing. God. So good.
Yeah. He does. I mean, Keenan Allen has big games against everybody, but he does. He lights up the Chiefs.
And that's going to be a high-scoring affair, I think.
Yeah.
Between those
Chiefs are not going to want to lose 2 in a row. They don't want to lose at home. They don't want to lose to the Chargers at home. Mahomes is going to be pissed. It's his first loss in September. Yada, yada, yada. I think the Chiefs are going to try to kill the Chargers. And, it's going to be a shootout.
I think Claypool, judging by the Deontay Johnson injury, he'll have an expanded role against Cincy this week.
Yeah, but man, Cincy was good. They just shut down Allen Robinson.
They did. But I think since he's going to have to choose between who do they shut down, Claypool or Juju, I think they might lean more towards Juju.
Man, this matchup is so, it's so back and forth. I'm definitely going receivers for Dwight, but definitely running backs for Vince. And then you get to the tight ends, and
it's the battle of the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, you can easily see Fant going off against the Jets.
Yes.
I could see him catching 2 touchdowns against the Jets. And I could see Hawk having a little bit of trouble against Baltimore. They didn't shut down Kelsey, but he didn't go off against them either.
But who they did shut down is Tyreek Hill. Because I went against Tyreek Hill this. And I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if they shade coverage towards Hawkinson this week.
Yeah, so
take away.
Who's that guy on Detroit? Quintez Cephas.
Yeah,
it's been having
whoever.
Throw him.
Who are you scared of? Who is? You're throwing those names out, and I know of them, but
it's Swift and Hawkinson. But after that, it's not even Marvin Jones anymore. It's Quintez Cephas, and then there's somebody I can't think of his name off the top of my head, and then the flex I like Vince, Chris Godwin over Robbie Anderson. Now we don't know that it's going to stay that way, but I don't see anybody on Dwight's bench that he's probably going to start over Robbie Anderson. I think
wasn't week one. Week 1 was the Antonio Brown week. Week 2 was Mike Evans. I think week 3 is the Godwin week.
Is a Chris Godwin week, because it's been Gronk sprinkled in to both. He's been fine in both, but he does seem to be kind of going around and just picking a guy to light up that week. And the super flex, I think, is somewhat even. If Jones keeps running, if he scores another rushing touchdown and runs for 80, 90 yards, he's going to be better than Darnold. But Darnold hasn't been terrible. And Houston's defense is nothing to be afraid of, even though Baker didn't have the kind of game that you would kind of expect that he would have had against them. But I don't know. I think I probably like Jones. He's been putting up points. Tough matchup, though.
Check my. Okay, no. I thought my dog was going ballistic. Go ahead.
The projection calls it about a 7-point victory for Dwight.
Mm-hmm.
I think it may be a little closer than that, but they don't see the running backs carrying the day for Vince the way that I thought. They're kind of putting Swift and CEH even.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention about that with the wide receivers is Dwight has the edge, but I would not be shocked if you see a big game out of Devontae Smith on Monday night. I think
Mike Williams, for that matter.
Or Mike, I think that Cowboys Philly game could be in the 30s and 40s.
He's got 3 straight guys right there, and Smith, Williams, and Fant that I could easily see catching 2 touchdowns each.
Yep. And Mike Williams.
Then again, so does Dwight. I could see Keenan, Hopkins, and Thielen. Maybe not Thielen, but
And you could see Hawkinson doing it too, just because he's the only guy, but you don't know how Baltimore's going to treat him.
Yeah.
I'm just if I had to give a slight edge overall, I'd just say Dwight, because Tom Brady seems like he's on a mission this year.
And I like the receivers. I like the edge in receivers a little bit more than I like the edge in running backs for Vince.
I think the game for Daniel Jones against Atlanta might be a little closer and keep him more involved than the Sam Darnold versus Houston.
Right.
So I'm going to give a slight edge to Dwight. Did you say Dwight too, probably?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's go to the next matchup in that division, which is your dad.
Where it's Harry and the Garoppolo Islands. Huh. Now, is Harry going to still have Naeem Hines in there? Is he really stuck? Boy, he kind of is, isn't he?
Yeah, because the Etienne or the however you say.
He's really stuck starting.
And he had
Hines. Now,
he had Jeffrey Wilson.
And he caught the Johnson injury, so he may or may not be in there. Who knows? What are they calling him? Questionable with a knee, looking better.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with great.
Yes.
Whatever.
What these blurbs are unreal. But anyways, I'll say Josh Allen has the edge over Tannehill. That's just me personally.
Boy, the projection really favors Garoppolo's team. They're not giving a 0 to anybody, but they really don't like Zach Wilson. You know, they're projecting him for 13, and that is in Denver against a tough defense. Zach Wilson has shown that he's capable of putting up a 3-point game. He just did it this last week. So, that's trouble.
Harry. Looking at those bottom three of Harry. You have Zach Wilson, who could not put up much. Deontay Johnson, who's still a little questionable. And what Mike Gesicki are we going to get? And who's going to be throwing him the ball?
He's averaging 3.5 a game. I don't know. At this point, he seems almost boom or bust. He needs to catch a touchdown to have any value because he's not getting the targets through the first couple.
But then to offset that, his next three, if Deontay Johnson doesn't play, you have Juju Smith, Jamar Chase, and A.J. Brown.
Yeah, I love the receivers. I don't think A.J. Brown's going to have another game of 7 points. The receivers are much better on Harry's side, but I think, the Kelsey, the quarterback difference, Cousins over Wilson, and the flex difference, I think that is going to be a big difference. And it might be enough to carry Garoppolo. So you got to assume, what do they give? They're giving Saquon 15.5. Yeah, that seems more in line with what you could expect. But Atlanta sucks, so he could easily kind of bust out and have his, hey, I'm back kind of game. He could run for a couple touchdowns easy.
The thing that I see that's an under projection for Harry is if Carson Wentz doesn't play, you could get a lot of check down to Naeem Hines.
Yeah, they're only predicting him for 2 catches. And I would have thought more than that this week, or this last week in week 2, and I would assume more than that this coming week. Tennessee did not look. Yeah, Tennessee did not look good against Seattle. He's not a wide receiver, but Lockett absolutely lit them up. Carson didn't do much, but Carson's not a receiving back, so
no.
That'll be interesting to see. But I do think that tracks at least the lineups as they sit now, and Harry doesn't have a ton to go to on the bench. Maybe he starts Lawrence over Zach Wilson. I could see him doing that.
But I think the one thing, and you mentioned it a minute or two ago, that's going to carry your dad is this could be the breakout Saquon Barkley week.
Yeah, you could finally have that week where maybe Galladay catches one and Saquon runs 1 or 2 because Atlanta is garbage. And
would it shock you if around a week from today we're saying Saquon put up 40?
40 would shock me, but if he went off, if he had 100 plus rushing and caught 6 or 7 balls and had 2 or 3 total touchdowns, that would not surprise me.
No,
but I don't know 40 would surprise me. Yeah.
But I'll say 30 to 40. How about 30 to 40?
Because 41 was the Aaron Jones game. 47 was the Derrick Henry game. So I don't think Saquon's going to do that. But receiving touchdown on 6 or 7 catches and then 100 plus on the ground and another running score, I could see it.
That's right. That's close to 30 right there.
Yeah, got to be. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I could also see him, not putting up much again. I could also see the 15.5 being happy with that. I could see that at the same time.
Hey, I gotta cut this short. My wife's just coming home.
All right, no worries.
Sorry.
Yeah, we'll
I gotta cut this short. So we'll continue this later in the chat and stuff like that.
Yeah, no worries. All right, man. Thanks.
All right, I'll talk to you guys later.
All right. All right, Tony, cutting it short. I'll rip through the rest of week 3 really quick. I don't remember what we've done, but just do the Trax projections. Don and Tony, Trax has him 135 to 121. Not a ton of difference. They're not loving DJ Chark, and there's no reason to love him. Lawrence hasn't shown him much love, missed him on a couple of deep ones. And it's growing pains for a rookie quarterback. They're not loving Cole Kmet, but they're also not loving Dallas Goedert. Pretty close matchup, but if Tony believes that the Chargers are really going to be in that shootout, you got to expect more than 20, more than 1.1 3/4 touchdown out of Justin Herbert. So he's hoping to. Well, he's got some decent points on the bench, though. Darrell Henderson probably not going to start this week, or hopefully not going to start this week. Another guy with ribs, 3rd or 4th guy we've seen with ribs. Who the hell else do we do? Oh, man. It's a shame Tony's not here for this matchup, but the Sam and Josh and Squibb, Trax has given about a 12-point edge to Sam. And again, not predicting much out of Ben. Kind of less than what I would think Kyler puts up against Jacksonville, but maybe they jump out to such a big lead that it's the Chase Edmonds and James Conner show, and he doesn't have to do too much. Throws a couple and doesn't have to run any in. Trax predicting finally what would be a big game out of Najee Harris. I know he caught that 25-yard touchdown to save his week last week, but they're predicting 82 rushing yards out of him. He has not come close to that yet this year. The receivers definitely an edge. I don't know about definitely. Kupp and Metcalf look great, but Jefferson and McLaurin look great as well. It's just they're going up against, I guess, a little bit tougher defenses. The Tampa secondary I don't think is much to be afraid of, so Kupp will probably continue to be peppered with targets. Call another touchdown for Gronk. Single-digit points for Antonio Brown. I think Burrow is probably better than 14 points against Pittsburgh, who just got thrown all over by David Carr. And you can probably call for better than 13 points, 14 points out of Mac Jones. New Orleans was not looking good at all. The game's in Foxborough, so the Pats at home, I think you got to like. I think this match is going to be closer than what Trax has it. And 12 points is not a huge difference, but this is going to be the fun. Ooh, Trey Lance down there. This is going to be the fun smack-talking match. It'll be interesting to watch this one. McCaffrey, good chance he absolutely just eviscerates Houston. Scores well over 24. The Cleveland defense has not looked good at all. So my brother's got a close contact COVID thing, and he's now off until October 3rd. His ambulance partner tested positive yesterday. Don't know what that means for him, but whatever. Man, I forget where I was now. I don't know who I think is going to win this. I much prefer the quarterback this week of Game of Jones. Boy, and the receivers, it's really tough. I don't know. I really don't know. This is a tough one. I think it's going to be close. Flip a coin. Dodger Joe, flip a coin. Let's go to Jeff and Cleveland Mark. Track's really liking Jeff, but he's been running on the negative side of expectations so far. Look at what Trax predicts for both Kamara and Mixon, probably more in line with what they should have scored even this last week. He got 15 out of them combined. Sterling Shepard continues to be a big-time target hog. I think it's like seven or more, and is like his last 9 or something. It's something crazy like that. He gets a ton of targets, and there's no reason to think that he won't continue to do so. And that they're not super high on Mark, not high on Allen Robinson at Cleveland. I think 11 is optimistic from LaVisca there. They're not high on Mark Andrews, not high on Jalen Reagor. I think Stafford's going to put up well over 20, but I take the over on touchdowns at 1.89. I take 2 touchdowns at least. Yeah, I don't know. A 22-point. If Kamara and Mixon have the week that they should, I think that looks realistic. I don't know if I see Lamar Jackson outscoring Mahomes. I don't know if I see that. But he doesn't necessarily have to for Jeff to have a path to victory here. Gets Sutton, but gives up Juju. Obviously, he likes Sutton, and against the Jets, I think there's big reason to like him. The flex, Carson doing what Chris Carson does, putting up a quietly good season. He's got a nice bench. A lot of guys getting points on the bench. Really like Renfro, Fuller, Corey Davis on the bench. Good look, and Odell. Good looking bench for Jeff. All right, who the hell else do we? I don't think we missed anybody else. That's pretty much it. That's week 3. Week 3 preview, week 2 recap. We're not as tightly organized as we are on the ABL, but we're doing it all the same. Tony had to leave early, so it threw me off. I'm not used to hoisting this football pod onto my back and running with it like that. Oh, God. So, that's what we get. Tony fumbled the ball. I picked it up and rumbled and stumbled like we still have the ball, but it's a busted play. Here's hoping Dak and A-Rod go off again this week. Final thoughts, Jerry Springer style. Pretty sure I went 17-8 again this week. Or no, 16-9. I did lose that matchup where it was I was up something and I was against Swift or against somebody. I lost it. I got this stuff written down places, and I can't find it. There it was. I was up 137.45 to 102.50 versus A-Rod. I lost that one. So I went 16-9. Did lose a survivor pick. Lost the Steelers. So that's that big survivor pool with 24K prize pool. Lost the Steelers on that one, but still have 3 out of 4. Wasn't a very big losing week. Only like 38 total entries, and a lot of them were the guys that had the Steelers. So that's week 3. That's the AFL. That's Armchair Updates. And we will see you next time.